In today's episode, we talk about the Blood Bowl team that I decided to go with and our first game.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice podcast, a podcast about how we game.
Hey folks, it's me, Carlos Cabrera. I'm back. I wanted to tell you about my Blood Bowl team and what I ended up deciding on, what team I picked, and how our first week went. I'm currently getting ready for my second match. So I'm going to be getting my team together, making some updates, putting a little paint on them, and get them out to the field today. I decided to go with the Dwarves. I know I was looking at between the Orcs and the Dwarves as my options. I ended up going with the Dwarves. I was in the Battlescribe app, putting my team together, and I just kept seeing how the Dwarf players, every single one of them came with more and more skills. At the end of the day, when you see that many skills, you ask yourself, why not? Why wouldn't you go with a team that comes with this many skills? The Orcs are great. They hit hard. They can also run the ball. They're fun, but they have no block. They don't come with block generally. So the ability to use that extra side of that dice, so when I get that both down result, to be able to use that with the block skill and knock my opponent down still, that's huge. So that's why I ended up going with the Dwarves. I decided to spend my $1.3 million on in this priority. I wanted to buy as many players as I could. And then I wanted to buy some rerolls. And then last and least was add some skills. And I put that last because they came with so many skills. I didn't feel a need to add skills to the players that were on my roster. We've got 2 blitzers, 2 troll slayers, 2 runners, and then I added 7 blockers. So it's a roster of 13 players. And I did that because in my games of Blood Bowl with friends at home, I found that I lost players. And losing players and not being able to fill in a full 11 after a half, that's stressful, right? So I decided to add extra players, put them on the bench. I got 2 extra guys just in case. That was important to me. So and then I went into buying my rerolls. So I bought 3 rerolls at $50,000 a piece. The 3 rerolls got me, in my mind, luck mitigation, or coach mitigation, right? Because I'm not a good coach. I'm new at this. I don't make the best decisions. I'm just learning. I figured it was really important for me to have some luck mitigation to kind of balance the factor that I'm not always going to make the best decisions. So that's why I focused on buying at least 3 rerolls. After I bought my rerolls, I went into purchasing upskills. So in this league, we're allowed to add up to 2 skills per player or 1 double per player, 1 double skill. So 2 normals or 1 double. But you cannot have the same skill 4 times on your roster. So what I did is I took my 2 runners and I gave them leader and pass. I figured by giving them the same skill sets, I had the ability to keep it simple for me. I wanted to keep it simple. My mind doesn't have to think hard. On my leaders, I also gave them pass. They already have short hands, so I'm not afraid of them missing a pickup roll. And so I gave them pass. I figured, you know what? Hey, I'm going to try to pass the ball. Dwarves can pass the ball too, right? Right? Mm-hmm. Blitzers. So I added Mighty Blow and Sure Hands. The reason I added Sure Hands is because there's nothing worse than missing or failing a pickup roll. So now I've got 4 players on the pitch that all have sure hands. So better options, better abilities to pick up the ball. That's great. Mighty Blow because I like to hurt stuff. So I figured the ability to add +1 to my armor roll or my injury roll, that's going to be fun. So I take this team, get into my first game, and it's against Brian Farabee. Brian is the coach that came out and played against me a couple of weeks ago. He taught me some Blood Bowl 7s out at the Armada shop in Temple Terrace here in Tampa. He is a good coach. He taught me well. He showed me some roster creation, and he taught me about doubles and normal skills, those confusing things that new players deal with. So I was really glad to see him there because I knew that not only did I have an opponent to play against, but I had someone that can coach me through it, kind of teach me some of the game or help me learn the game. But I won last time, so I'm certain this time around, he's out for blood. I already had my new player win, so he let me have that, but this time I'm sure he's out for blood. He's going to go after me. So we set up. I win the toss. I elect to kick the ball. That's great. I'm going to receive in the next half. That's what I want. And then we roll for the kickoff, and the kickoff is a blitz. Our weather is sweltering heat. I'm kicking the ball, but I get to set up and actually move my players, before he takes an action. So anyone not adjacent to an opponent gets to take an action, take a move. And that was great, being able to position myself. I wanted to set up more blocks while I was there, which worked out great. So with the setup, I set up with my runner and my blitzer in the backfield. I have 2 guys back just in case. And we kick the ball, get into the first half, and some of the quick highlights of the first half, right? My blocker, number 8, Mac Renzo, right? He comes in and he stuns that Chaos Minotaur that Brian had, and that was awesome to see. Early game, we're talking like turn 1, turn 2, to be able to take out that big guy. That was great. That was great momentum for my team. My number 11, Bari crits, he casualties a beast man, and it was a great roll because it was boxcars for the armor, and it was boxcars for the injury roll. So seeing that, Brian knew the momentum was on my side, and he got the injured back result for his casualty, which means he's going to have a niggling injury for the rest of the season. So Brian's going to remember me. And then overall, my team ends up getting KOs on 3 more players, and we stunned 2 more players. That's a pretty good first half. It took a lot of damage to him. Brian's team overall, his Minotaur comes back. After he comes back, he gets up and he just clobbers Mac Renzo. My number 8 just gets smashed. He ends up getting a casualty roll on him. He rolls a badly hurt, which isn't bad because that allows him to come back in the next game with no lingering damage. So he takes his damage. He's out for the rest of this game. So before the second half starts, number 8, Mac Renzo, is out. But he's going to come back next game. Brian's team ends up stunning 3 of my players. So really not a lot of casualties or KOs in that first half by Brian. But he does score in the top of the 5th. So top of the 5th round, 8 rounds. For those of you that are new to Blood Bowl, there are 8 rounds in every half. There's a top and a bottom. In the top of the 5th, Brian scores. So now it's 1-0. Well, sweltering heat is our weather roll. And that means that each player on the pitch has to roll to see if the sweltering heat takes him out before the next kick. So I end up being fine from the sweltering heat. I think my dwarves have the ability to handle that. But his chaos, they were a little weak. He lost a beast man to the sweltering heat. And Brian actually failed to bring back his KO'd players that kick. So that next kick, he had a lot less players on the pitch, which was great. Because that's what I needed. It's bottom of the 5th. He's got 1 score. And I need to score at least once in this half to be able to go into the next half and have control. So I bring in my second runner. He's got a leader skill, so that adds another reroll to my board. I receive the ball, I create a beautiful cage, and I begin moving that thing up the right side of the field. His Chaos Warriors end up casualtying one of my players. He's dead. The casualty roll is dead. It was my Troll Slayer, Lonnie Ketchum. Lonnie went in, he got casualtied. And I didn't realize that some of those casualty rolls are dead, can never bring them back again, dead. And that's when the momentum I started seeing it swing his way. Bottom of the 8th, I end up scoring. So my number 6 is my runner, and it was Neck Oben. Neck Oben scores my number 6, and this is great. So it's bottom of the 8th, right before the end of the half. I score, tie up the game 1-1, coming out of the first half. So at the end of the drive, sweltering heat gets in effect again. So we test for sweltering heat. I end up losing 2 players to sweltering heat. Brian doesn't lose any. So you can see how the momentum has now shifted. Whereas first half, he didn't have a lot of players. Second half, I got a casualty. I've got players that are KO'd. I got sweltering heat in play. In the second half, I'm receiving the ball. So the kickoff roll is quick snap. How amazing is my luck in this game? In the first half, I get blitz, which means I can take actions before my opponent. In the second half, when I'm receiving, I get quick snap, which means my team can move before the ball is even kicked. That's while it's in the air. That's great luck. My team, during the second half, we only end up getting 1 KO and 3 stuns. So that's all I can dish out to Brian. So not a very effective half for doing damage to my opponent. But Brian's team, he's got his Minotaur who casualties my number 12, right? And I'm already seeing what a death casualty looks like. So it's my player, Brian Snow. He's a blocker, my number 6, and ends up getting a dead. Another casualty death result. That's 2 players in one game just outright murdered. That was a shock. I'm able to, just see, okay, I can still do this. I have the ball. I end up having another Chaos Warrior casualtying my number 6, so he's badly hurt. So he's not dead, but he's badly hurt. I got another KO against me. I get 3 stuns against me in that half alone. That's a lot of damage those Chaos Warriors did. That Minotaur finally showed up and did some damage. Top of the second, right? I'm trying to set up my cage. So I've got my positionals heading forward, and it's just, he's got the ball. He's just 2 spaces away from where I exactly want him to be to set up a cage. So I go for it. I fail the go for it roll. I fail the re-roll of the go for it roll. I drop the ball. On my side of the pitch, right in front of my end zone, the ball goes loose. That was my worst nightmare. I don't even know why I did the go for it. That's what I mean by not a skilled coach. I'm learning. Brian gets possession of the ball first, but then I get it back at the top of the third. The ball goes loose again at the bottom of the third. My number 5 picks it up at the top of the fourth. Turns 4, 5, and 6. I've got the ball, and I'm trying to run the ball. It's my runner, Chest Hair. He's trying to run the ball forward. But Brian's got this setup where I just couldn't do it. I couldn't move the ball forward. All I was doing was trying to open a hole. So that's turns 4, 5, and 6. The ball effectively doesn't move. Top of turn 7, number 5, Chest Hair, is carrying the ball, and he tries to open a hole because he was the last action I had to activate, and he fails to block, scatters the ball. He goes down. He scatters the ball. At the bottom of the 7th, Brian picks up the ball, and he's got the Beastmen, which are pretty quick. Picks up the ball, breaks away, and Brian finally scores at the bottom of the 8th. Final score is 2-1, and I'm a little in shock. I'm a little upset with myself. I made some unforced errors, specifically doing a go for it when you didn't need to, and that cost me the game. I was playing for a tie at that point when I got into the 4th, 5th, 6th round. I figured, okay, if I can just go for a tie, that'll be fine. End of the game, we decide our MVPs, and my MVP ends up being number 7, Barry Kritz, which is that's worthy. He casualtied, he KO'd players. For a little blocker, he did his job. I upskill him, and I add guard. This is where I was coached by Brian on team roster builds, what skills go best or benefit the most to be put on a dwarf team, and I learned about guard. He had guard, and I saw him use it. I saw him use it effectively to prevent me from using 2-die blocks. That was great. So I added guard, and I ended up earning 30,000. That's not enough to rehire a dead blocker and a dead troll slayer, but because I did purchase more players at the original onset, that allowed me to fill the roster that I need, right? So next game, which I'm going into today, I'm going to have a full 11 players, but I'm down 1 troll slayer, down 1 blocker. I've got my 11. Overall, fun game. Very long. First thing I'm noticing, it as a new player, my decisions are slow. I need to hold myself to a clock of some sort so that my opponents continue to have fun. So I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to figure out a way to hold myself to a clock so that I know that I'm not taking the fun from my opponent with a game that's taking too long. I had a blast. The fact that I named those players, I initially didn't go in naming. I'm not a very imaginative, creative person. So I'm even struggling right now to create a name for my team. I haven't even done that yet. So help me with a name for the team because I'm struggling with a dwarf name for the team. But I named my players, and that really added a whole level of fun. Actually rooting for a player, rooting for a name, made it feel like watching sports. I'm not a football guy. I don't watch American football as much. I'm a baseball guy. I love baseball, so I do like sports. Being able to root for a player and see him do well or see him die, and those are things that really add to the joy of this game. The end game, being able to get an MVP and decide on upskilling who's going to get what, rolling those casualty rolls to be able to figure out, what injury did they take? How are they going to do the rest of this season? That all really came to a head at the end of the game, and it felt great. So I look forward to our next vlog. After today, I've got my second game. I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks again for watching and subscribing. Please comment below, what names should I give this dwarf team? I'm here in Tampa, Florida. I'm a baseball guy. Rays are my team. Those are all things about me. Let me know. Got a good name for a dwarf team? Put it down below. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching.
You're listening to the Beans and Dice Podcast, a podcast about how we game.